Welcome to the UST Education recorded webinar series. This session is powered by US Transactions. UST is a boutique payment processing firm providing you with personalized service. We offer agnostic, best-fit technology solutions for associations, nonprofits, and enterprise clients.
We can see it. Yep.
Okay, so our webinar, there are three of us. We all work for associations who have introduced to our associations Copilot. We're on Microsoft 365 environment, and some of the questions we have for you, and we'll ask them later. If you're not have not implemented it, what's holding you back? Right, but we'll share our experiences and what it means for us. And I will jump into introductions now. Let's start with Diane.
Hello, my name is Diane Harris. I'm the Senior Director of Technology Operations and Data Strategy for the Association of Financial Professionals. And a little over a year ago, I worked with Galina to implement Copilot at our association.
And I'll go next. My name is Galina Kozachenko, and I'm a Managing Director of Organizational Strategy and Performance. And I partner with Diane on anything technology and analytics related.
And my name is Misha Getter. I am Head of Technology at American Alliance of Museums. And we have started on our Copilot implementation journey late this summer and early fall. Right. And before we jump into our agenda for today, I would like to ask UST team to share the poll, if you guys could answer that, and it will help inform us how do we structure our conversation today. So going into the agenda, what we will be talking about, it's mostly practical session. We're not going to be engaging in a lot of philosophical talk or general thoughts about AI. We'll share with you our real life experiences and examples. We're not going to be touching on ethical considerations. We're not going to be diving into the security implications of using Copilot, because Copilot is fully integrated into Microsoft 365 environment. With all security that comes with it. If you trust M365 to be your system of record and holding your documents and sensitive information, Copilot fully respects that. We also will touch on productivity gains versus work slop. I assume many people already have heard that term, and also fake productivity traps that I have personally experienced. I did not know what it was until I fell into several, right? And we'll talk about real life examples, adoptions, scenarios, and we'll touch briefly on AI policy. We're not going to be talking much about it, just a general few points, right? And if time allows, we'll talk a little bit more about how to purchase and install Copilot, what is the difference between free Copilot and paid Copilot. Some people concerned about environmental impact, we may talk about it, and then we'll conclude with final tips and takeaways. Now, looking at the poll, it seems that we do have a good amount of people interested in seeing how to interact with it and the difference between free and paid Copilot. So we'll adjust our conversation accordingly, right? So let's start with real life examples. And hold on, let me make sure I can see the chat.
Just to give a summary of the real life examples, when Misha and I and Diane were brainstorming sort of how can we sort of summarize all of the use cases that our associations have been able to apply with Copilot's help, we divided it into 6 categories. So the first one, that's what we're going to share with you right now, is personal efficiency, because I do think it can boost your personal efficiency tremendously. Then we also will cover strategy and kind of executive board level work that you can be doing with Copilot. That's category number 2. Category number 3, it's content marketing, customer experience, web. Then we're going to take another poll, and we're going to jump into technology and data. Then we're going to cover project management office. That's kind of Diane's expertise. She's going to talk a lot about how PMs and business analysts, how they can use Copilot. And we'll close with legal and HR. So those are the 6 categories we're going to cover.
Right. So to begin with, one of the things that saves a lot of time for me is preparing for the meetings and catching up on meetings. This is not something I knew how much Copilot will help us. I will share with you right here my Microsoft Teams calendar, right? And there is a meeting down there at the bottom that says a reference call. We actually in the process of considering choosing a new learning management system, and we're doing our reference calls. So when I clicked on reference call, there is a button here that says prepare for this meeting. And I clicked on it. And when I clicked on that meeting, you see this right, the panel on the right, where Copilot informed me about the meeting basics, relevant background that surfaced in my tenant. What does it do? It scours all the conversations that we had internally about the subject matter. It pulls up all the emails, all the relevant documents, all the shared PDF files, Word files, notes that have been taken in the past, and says, okay, well, those are important conversations that you need to bring up in that meeting, right? Additionally, it based on questions, it knows that we have asked our previous references. It suggested the questions to ask to the next reference during the next reference call. So we can have a more cohesive view of the LMS, right? Gives me my talking points, right? And additionally, it can do some other things, right? This is one of the incredible time savers and just prepping you up because there are, as you can see, frequently meetings that go back to back and you don't even have time to prepare, right? And one of the second points over here is scheduled and reminders for daily digest on things to focus on. For example, we're all bombarded with emails. And I don't know about you guys, maybe it never happens, but I miss emails and they fall through the cracks. And maybe if next week somebody sends me email or catches me in the hallway and sends me a text message saying, well, so what do you think about this email I sent you last week? And I'm like, what email? I never saw it. It just completely got buried in the avalanche. So Copilot you can ask it to send you daily digests of emails you haven't opened yet or haven't responded to. So for example, this thing here, this is surfaced emails I have not responded to. It says need response, right? 2 emails I need to open and look at them because they're important and require my action for my information, and it breaks them into 3 different categories and other important emails I need to consider, right? This comes to me every day at 9 in the morning, and this is how I start my day, and that helps me ensure that I don't really miss important stuff, right? And with that, I pass it on to my friends here.
I've noticed that I've always been a note taker. As a project manager, mainly I'm just obsessed with note taking, and it takes a lot of time to actually go through my notes and then organize them and then make them ready for whichever audience I'm sending them to. So what I've found very valuable with Copilot is that doing the transcript while you're in a meeting, having that work even without a recording, it's taking notes for you. You can use that in any different format that you want to use. You can have Copilot do the organize the notes so you have action items you can follow with people. But in addition to the note taking, because that's the major time saver after the meeting, during meetings, I do appreciate live transcription. I'm definitely someone who, in order to listen, I'm taking notes. I feel like I'm, all over the place. But with live transcription, I can actually see what people are saying. It definitely helps with my absorption of the information. So that's been very valuable to me. But the note taking after the fact, not spending time organizing and formatting things has been a huge time saver for me.
And so just to also give you some background on the color coding here. So the blue cases are going to be Misha's association, and green cases, that's going to be AFP, Association for Financial Professionals, and it's either going to be me or a Diane. So what I love in personal efficiency is the long form document summarization, because we often deal with contracts and PDFs from 5, 6 years ago, like membership surveys or things like that, and or requirements or RFPs. And it takes good 20, 30 minutes to really read those old documents and scan them when you only need one answer to the question. So often it's much easier to basically right click on a document in the SharePoint, use Copilot and say, summarize it for me, and then once the summary happened, you can start interacting with it and ask questions like, what was the estimate on hours? What was the quote on something? So that's very helpful. And on the next slide, the way we're going to go, each category, we're going to kind of wrap up with the outcomes.
Oh, I want to chime in here.
Sure.
Just share my screen again. So this is again inside the Teams environment. I'm inside OneDrive, right? Let's say there is a document, just what Galina said. What Copilot does, it exposes, I don't know if you guys see it, there is like a little Copilot icon as I mouse over the file. And if I click on it, it allows me to summarize this file without even opening it, right? It can create an FAQ based on that file. It can create an audio overview, or I can ask a question of that file right there inside my OneDrive, right? And now we'll go ahead and proceed to the next slide here.
And one question in the poll, Misha, we had was, is this the
Yeah.
paid Copilot version or a free Copilot version?
Yes, I think I answered that. That's a paid Copilot version.
Paid Copilot. Okay. So yeah, so from personal efficiency, what we've noticed is that it can save people anywhere from, I don't know, 10 to 25, 30% on depending on a week, depends on what you're doing. And one thing I see people in the chat talking about, but I like ChatGPT more. And definitely, if there's a way to get an enterprise version of ChatGPT where you're pretty sure that your data is secure, I think it's another great way to use AI. What Copilot does for us, it was a very simple way for us to make sure that it was tightly integrated with all of our business, because we are 100% Microsoft shop. And I would not be uploading any of the sensitive data I just talked about, contracts, PDF, SOWs, or sensitive strategy documents into ChatGPT to get the summaries or interact with it. So that's the benefit of having Copilot tightly integrated with everything. And what we're also noticing is that it's really reducing the cognitive load and allows people to focus more. Like in Diane's example, it's not taking notes during the meeting, but intently listening and participating. In my case, it's not wasting 20, 30 minutes on a document summary. So that's in a nutshell the outcomes and efficiency on the outcomes of the personal efficiency category.
I would like to just add one thing. I see in the chat folks are talking about, having a set of eyes look at this and having that human take on what's been written. So I think just to level set, as much as I do love AI and I do find a lot of efficiencies, no matter what is generated in AI, you have to read it. And that's something that I'm always doing. I just took a few courses from PMI on AI. They have a few really good certificates actually, and or I'm sorry, badge courses, not certificates. And they have this term that I find is really helpful that I always use. It's the human loop. So as you're doing these iterations of prompting or whatever generating whatever you're asking AI to do, you have to add a human loop to it every time. Just circle back around with that human loop and make sure that it's going in the right direction, it's using the right context, and it's accurate what it's producing. So that goes without saying. That's included already.
Right. So our next slide primarily for AFP folks, right, on the strategy and executive horizon scan.
Yep. So I do a lot, like I'm responsible for organizational strategy at AFP, and in 2025 we were building I'm sorry, yes, 2025 we were building out a strategy for the next 5 years. And Copilot helped tremendously with competitor research and market research. Again, it's something I probably would not do as explicitly as I was doing in ChatGPT due to the kind of the security and the risk concerns. You don't use Copilot as a sole market research tool. You still, I mean, I would encourage you to still go and validate through, Bureau of Labor Statistics, depends on what you're doing. In our case, a lot of it was estimating the market size and understanding what our competitors are doing. I would say easy in the past, it would have taken me 10 solid hours of uninterrupted work, if not more. And with Copilot, I was able to shrink it quite a bit. And the other one, a really cool way too, again, that one you can probably do with ChatGPT. It's a little less sensitive, but again, if you have Copilot, you can use that. If you are working on things like brand awareness and sentiment analysis, what is the external market talking about when they hear your association name? This is a very good way. You can build a kind of ongoing chat or an agent in Copilot that basically does that. It goes and scans Reddit. What are they called? Threads, LinkedIn open groups, and it will almost like give you a summary of everything that is being talked about as a neutral, positive, or negative. And you could do it by product or you could do it for the association. And it is of tremendous value again, because in the past, I would have to stay on top of Reddit, figuring out what are the threads. I will have to be searching for different threads. And AI really does 80% of work for you there. So in summary, it really helps you shorten the cycle, like the prep cycle for the strategy or determining the tactics. And I put one thing here, like improves audience focus to increase message effectiveness. When I'm preparing for, let's say, the board meeting versus I'm trying to deliver the same information to the staff, it is really helpful to use your LLM to basically put your kind of script in and just bounce it back as an audience. Say, okay, like am I high enough for the board, or am I sharing enough details for the staff? And it really helps with that. I will reply to the post about the market research prompt separately. And then the next slide is the third category, and that is everything sort of marketing, content, web, membership, web, customer experience. I will talk about customer experience because if you think about it, it's kind of all encompassing. It includes product vision, it includes UX, it includes sort of user experience. And AFP has been dabbling with customer experience right before COVID. We put the team together, team was going through research, we were doing customer journey mapping. And I remember like the phase one, kind of the research and the basic journey mapping. With everything else going on, it was taking us close.
We lost your sound.
Am I back?
Yes, you're back.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So yes, and when COVID hit, we had to cut that initiative, and only after 4 years or so, we were able to get back to it. And now we were equipped with Copilot. And just to tell you, like what took us 8 months in the past, we were able to shrink it down to 2 months. So while I put 40 hours here, but in reality, this was like a tremendous 4 times the saving for us. And what it did for us, it helped us summarize the old documents that we have had on pain points, that helped us do the research on the audiences. Also, we were doing a lot of virtual focus groups, and so analyzing transcripts and then doing the gap analysis between kind of the current membership value proposition was what the pain points are was extremely helpful. And doing the customer journey mapping, literally like plugging in the web URL and saying, tell me what is, as a treasury analyst, these are my pain points. How would I move around this website? What am I seeing well and what am I not seeing well? That was of tremendous help to us. The second point I'll quickly mention is if any of you is working with search engine optimization, making sure that your content is visible in Google and AI LLMs, just taking a website URL, again, plugging it into Chat Copilot and saying, analyze this for these keywords and for this audience is sometimes helpful, because it could be just some sloppy work on the back end where you forgot to add a tag one line to the web URL, or maybe you're missing a keyword, and so that's kind of like a quick and dirty cleanup that really helps you boost your content.
I just wanted to chime in, although I don't have a highlighted line here on tone adjustments, and I will speak about not various personas, but tone adjustments when communicating with your colleagues, or for example, when doing anything really. I've had a thread going back and forth between me and our CFO about some subject matter that we were arguing back and forth, and I started pasting it to Copilot and asking, well, what do you think? What should I respond? How should I respond? And eventually we came to the conclusion that I shouldn't. And the next step should be an in-person conversation rather than continuing this via email. And I thought it was a very insightful conversation. Additionally, as the more you use Copilot inside your corporate environment, the more it learns about your organization, about people who work there, about conversations that are happening between you and those people, and it starts understanding what your organization is doing, how is it moving forward, what drives it, and what decisions make sense in its own context. So it's good and it's bad in certain ways, because it sort of starts developing this somewhat of a tunnel vision, because all it knows now is your organization. So what I occasionally do, I run a sanity checks between what Copilot tells me in the knowing everything it knows about AIM now against some other AI engines who have a broader understanding of, like, not as much into our own things, right? And I do some pressure checks saying, well, Copilot told me this, what do you think? Is it genuinely good practice, or is it saying me because it just knows how we do things around here? So I'm finding that sometimes using an additional AI engine is useful, as long as you make sure that you don't paste any kind of sensitive information into it.
Yeah, Diane will talk about that too, where her group had a lot of success with kind of balancing, making sure sensitive ideas belong to Copilot, but then taking some of it and sharing it with the other LLMs. Yep. So just like, with everything else, it could save you 10, 15 hours a week, or it could save you 40 hours a week if you're doing something like customer journey mapping that can take days. It really helps you in many areas that in the past would take you many more hours, like analyzing your website and making sure you're running a focus group can take like a whole week. With Copilot, you could probably condense it to a day.
Okay. And now we have our participation question. I think UST had asked us to pass it on to the entire crew here. If you could answer that question for their CE participation requirements. At least once a day seems to be winning so far. I do have to say that the more you use it, the greater the benefit you will experience from it. Right? It becomes cumulative. And this is what we're seeing here in our staff as well. Folks who use it more often seem to be noticeably more productive than those who just use it occasionally. And now this slide's about technology, how it helps us with our technology and data. Very quickly, even though I'm a head of technology here, I'm not a PowerShell writer. I do not know how to write PowerShells in Microsoft. And frequently I found myself passing on questions to our managed service providers to do something for us. And it usually takes several days for them to get back to me. Sometimes they don't understand. Sometimes they don't know how to do things. I started asking Copilot, and there are things that can be done in Microsoft 365 environment that can only be scripted using PowerShell. So Copilot was able to write PowerShells for me. I'm a developer from my past life, so I can sort of understand what it does. I cannot write it, and it's been incredible. My number of calls that I have to make to MSP reduced more than by 50% because now I can do things myself. It writes this shell script. Shell script does what I ask it to do, and we're done, right? But the bigger case here is the SharePoint site creator by non-technical end user. We have an executive assistant to our CEO, who is sort of responsible for overseeing our board of directors and ensuring communication between AM and our board of directors. She's a non-technical person, and with the help of Copilot, she was able to build an incredible SharePoint communication intranet site for the board of directors to do what they do. She didn't ask a single question of our IT team to help her. And when she unveiled her site, complete with all the permissions, with images, with navigations and menus and files areas where people can collaborate, everybody were wowed by what she was able to accomplish. Not a single question to IT team. Absolutely incredible. She did it all by herself. But she is very aggressive experimenter. She does not afraid to jump into stuff, roll up her sleeves, and just go for it. Very, very impressive.
And in a similar fashion, I wouldn't say I'm an Excel wizard by any means. Galina and our data scientist, they are. So I do find that when I'm trying to keep up with them, or if I'm, analyzing something that they've sent, I use Copilot for creating formulas, charts, pivot tables, anything that I don't do on a daily basis, that it just takes so much less time to start asking Copilot for assistance with these things, instead of, like Misha said, reaching out to someone else and waiting for feedback, and then trying to explain exactly what you're doing. So I've actually found that it's helpful to ask it for help in these situations, and I've learned a few tricks from it as well, which has been very helpful and a time saver.
So if we look at the time saved on the technology and data aspect of the operations, depending on how much help you need, it can be anywhere from 10 to 25 hours a week. It's real savings, right? So as we go through those summary pages, right, and see how much time it can save to individuals or teams or groups of individuals working together, the license cost of and which we're gonna get into this later, of $25 per person becomes immaterial because of the incredible acceleration of your productivity that happens as a result. Okay. So with that, we can jump to the next one. Project for project management, essentially. I found it extremely useful when I explained to Copilot the project we're embarking on, since it has access to our SharePoint environment, our chats, our notes, everything that's sitting inside Microsoft 365. It has a pretty good understanding of what we're trying to accomplish. And with my explanations, it's able to create a business case and build out an importable project plan that I can import into Asana, for example, and it's able to assign people to it. It breaks it down into tasks, and it creates an entire project plan for non-trivial projects that I know if I had to do it myself, I would spend hours or days organizing over how to do it, what actions need to be taken, what's required, what's not, what's the sequencing, right? What tasks depend on the others. Those are non-trivial things. Of course, once this is created, you have to go through this and validate that it's accurate and makes sense to you. And sometimes it will require a few tweaks, but generally coming up with fairly complex project plans, massive sometimes savings. It can range from small to big, but I rely on it a lot now for project planning or pressure testing my own plans against what what Copilot thinks is a good idea to do or not to do.
And I will quickly just say that I have to jump out because of that unforeseen circumstance, personal circumstance. Thank you guys very much. Link me in if you want to connect, if you want to talk more about these things, and Diane will continue with the AFP story. Thank you, everyone.
And thank you,
Thanks,
Galina.
Galina. So I tend to use AI. I tend to approach it as what do I not like to do, and how can AI do that for me so that I don't have to do it. And user stories to me is something that they're so valuable and I think mandatory for so many things, but they take me so much time to do, and I find them kind of exhausting. So what I've done is I actually took a product management course that I really liked, and I got a few different nuggets from there, and I turned it into a framework that I use with our business owners internally, asking questions about, what is it you want from the future system, or, what's the problem now? So it's a whole questionnaire that we go through. And then I use Copilot to take that information and generate, what is the job to be done? So what's the big picture of what we're trying to do? And then from there, use all that information to generate user stories. So this has been helpful in terms of when you're looking for some kind of solution, when you're talking to vendors, having the user stories ready to go and and provide to them. It also helps us come up with different like overview documents. So instead of when we're talking to different vendors, repeating ourselves, 5, 6 times whenever you meet someone new. So providing that overview to them, all that documentation, instead of having to regurgitate it every time, we have actually now have the documentation to provide to them. So that also leads into RFPs. When we're writing RFPs, super helpful to have all that background information that we can use and try to articulate into our template, our RFP template, what exactly it is we're looking for, what the outcomes are. We've also used Copilot to take, we have our initial overview document and user stories, and then we'll get some quotes, and we're like, what's missing? What haven't they covered? Or, what's in here that we didn't actually ask for? So we've actually done a lot of analysis on what's delivered to us, so that we can see what the gaps are. And then that's like the follow-up conversation. But I think what I've also found it super helpful with, and if you've worked on any project or you've done any kind of maintenance of a system, SOPs. SOPs are the kind of thing that, you write them once and then they kind of get out of date fairly quickly. And then all of a sudden it seems like it's an insurmountable task to keep on updating them. So what we've been doing, and this is what I like about the paid Copilot license, is that when you have your SOPs and maybe you're having a meeting talking about a new enhancement that you've made to the system, and you kind of go through that, you're able to just upload your SOP, your current SOP, and say, what's the gap here? What are we missing? What needs to be added? Where do you recommend we add it? And then your SOPs are less out of date. It's a little bit easier to maintain them, and it's a little bit just time saving for staff.
So quickly jumping to the general time saving. What do you think, Diane?
Well, definitely, I wouldn't be uploading my SOPs to an AI that I don't have a license for. So Copilot, and like Misha said, they know your business the more they work with you. So we have that security feature built in. I do think the project acceleration is legit. it would take me forever to write user stories. It would take me a while to do, to write an RFP. So we're literally saving time there. And we do not have a BA, and that's definitely an important function that I feel like we're missing. But we've been able to kind of leverage Copilot to help with some of the BA tasks that otherwise we'd have to, outsource or hire someone. So yeah, I think it's a significant time saving in my life. It takes away the things that I don't want to do as well, which I think is a nice feature, nice bonus.
So next, I have a couple of stories to share with you guys. Assistance in contract negotiations. It does not replace your lawyers, right? Of course, but it can significantly reduce the number of hours you will ask of your lawyers to get engaged with, because when you're ready to sign that contract, right, all the paperwork that comes to you from the vendor, there is a lot of legal terms. None of us here are skilled lawyers or understand legal terminology. So we feed the contracts, terms of services, SOWs into Copilot, and it tells us what to pay attention to. And we actually helped us significantly renegotiate the contract with one of the vendors we recently onboarded with. And we managed to get higher insurance coverage from them in case of various contractual breaches. And also, we were able to lower some of the costs by finding places where we could press or push on the vendor. So as this is something that our team was unable to do in the past ever, it will all just go to the lawyer. But with the Copilot, the outcomes were pretty impressive, really and truly. And in HR area, performance reviews and self-assessment. So I have to conduct performance reviews for some people who report to me, and I also have to do my own personal self-assessment, which is kind of awkward and weird, right? So I asked Copilot, based on everything it knows about me, to write a self-assessment for me. And it did. I looked at it, it was fair, and I really hardly even changed it. I just passed it on. So this is it. And I was transparent about it. I said, this is what Copilot thinks about me, right? Judging by my communications and email style, how I talk to other people via email and chats, documents I'm working on, what I have accomplished, what projects have been completed, right? And this is objective reality. And I spend literally minutes on that, which usually would be a daunting task for me. And the same for people who report to me. I was able to produce very quickly report on them, right? That I could show them and say, well, this is objectively what Copilot thinks of your performance. Do you agree or not, right? I didn't have to inject a lot of my own personal feelings into this conversation. And additionally, it also helped with adjusting goals for the upcoming year for my colleagues, because we can say, well, based on that and based on the organizational goals and based on the job description, can you come up with what would be measurable and achievable goals for this person? And I did it in a span of about 3 minutes, right? And about 90% of that was accepted as reasonable, and we just moved on with it. So a lot of time savings here. It doesn't happen every day, right? Because you usually just have to go through this exercise once a year when you have your performance reviews or like up for your salary increases. But when you're busy doing your other work, dealing with this is just annoying and sort of takes away from other more important things that your mind is at, right? So Copilot is extremely useful here. So that's what I have experienced in terms of time savings during that week of performance assessment, right? So this is our participation question number 2. where are you guys in your journey, right? Need convincing to start, ready to go, purchased, now what? And already having some success, but curious to hear where everyone else is doing. Oh, need convincing to start. Just go for it. It's been pretty incredible, right? And we're going to advance to our next slide, which sort of a quick conversations here about WorkSlab. What is it? Useless output that adds no real value and wastes time for those who has to deal with it. It's a thing. If people do not use AI deliberately, right, and just have it produce something and pass it on, bad use, a bad use case. Human must be in the loop whenever AI produces something that you need to pass on and share with somebody else. Please invest some time in reading it, understanding it, and making sure it's meaningful and adds value. Fake productivity trap. I've fallen into this. Even though Copilot knows a lot of things, it may not necessarily know all the current versions of things that I asked it to do. For example, I asked it to help with some Microsoft 365 administrative issues. And I spent hours going down rabbit holes with it because it is very optimistic. It says, oh, yeah, let's do this. Here's what you should try. Only to discover that the things it wants me to try based on somewhat obsolete versions that have been deprecated and been replaced in functionality of the newer versions. So when I get the error messages or something doesn't work, I tell it, well, here's the screenshot of the error message. And it goes, oh, yeah, that's because this feature has been deprecated. Well, this is a new feature. Let's try to do that. And sometimes you waste more time with it and than you expect. But the final outcome, you finally get to it. Maybe it would have been quicker to ask somebody who already knows how to get into it, or a professional who already has this knowledge, than thinking, oh, I can do everything with Copilot. Sometimes you can't. Or at least you can, but it will take a little bit longer time. So let's jump into the adoption scenarios, right? And I'll ask Diane to maybe share a few thoughts here. How did you guys adopt yours?
So we actually start with, we have our guidelines that we use. I tend to be more evolution versus revolution. So I didn't want to say everyone has to do this and this is how it goes. We like to start small and then build upon success. So we have, I think it's in the folder that we're sharing with everyone. We have our AI guidelines, and it starts out by saying, this is going to evolve over time, and these are going to change, and this is a rapidly changing environment. So we're just going to keep on going with it. And what we do have is an AI policy or guidelines that when everyone starts at AFP, they have to read it and um, they have to sign off on it before they get a license. And we do check in with people over time, in case we hear, even if I'm in a meeting and someone says, oh, I'm using ChatGPT for that, I will usually follow up and just make sure they're using a paid version and that they're not sharing any of our information out there, but they shouldn't. Because, to the question, shadow AI, it does exist. People are dabbling. People are using ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude. And I think over time, we've gotten everyone, or at least close to everyone, to understand our stuff is not going out there. You have to protect AFP data. You have to protect all of our information. So you're not just throwing that into any AI that you tend to use. It's just not acceptable. So by signing off on our guidelines and our policy, that's hopefully taking care of all that, because people are using it outside of your organization. We actually did just kind of jump in. We were coming up on our renewal, which is in March every year, and we had had a couple of requests from staff asking, are we able to use AI? This is something that I've seen other associations use, or I'm kind of interested. So we were like, you know what? Let's just add a few licenses. I think we added 8 licenses, and we said, we'll add it now. We're only going to pay for like 2 months of licenses before the renewal. And if it's a good time. If we really don't like it, then we don't have to proceed with them. Or if we like it, we can buy more in March when the renewal comes up. So we didn't spend a lot of time thinking about it. It was like, let's just start small, especially with people who were super interested in it. And we did create that small group to just kind of jump in. Misha, do you have anything to
Yes.
add?
It was the same for us too. I essentially made an announcement. I said, if you're already using AI, right, and you're eager to test it for your organization, we have 10. We're jumping in. We're going ahead with like 10, a tiger team of 10 people. Let me know if you want to get a license. And we had some volunteers, those people who are already using AI. But one of the conditions was if you join the target team, we're going to have a cadence of meetings where we all exchange what we've learned. We had a shared documents where people obligated to contribute the lessons they've learned and maybe some useful prompts, how to save them time or what traps they have fallen into. So we're more deliberate about learning it. And then as people become more comfortable, they can then share it with their colleagues and build this momentum and build the desire from people to use Copilot, right? We just grabbed AI policy from ASAE and I had Copilot amended. So we started with a very basic AI policy, and our AI policy and AFP's policy will be provided to you at the end of the webinar in a follow-up packet, right? There are a couple of various adoption scenarios: deploy to everyone, deploy by request, start with a formal Tiger team. This is what I would personally recommend. Find people who are already eager, they're ready to go. They don't need convincing because they will start convincing others when they experience the benefit of your Copilot implementation.
And I agree with that. I will say that at the end of our pilot program, which was 2 months, we had people say, well, I've only used it in this and I've done this. So they were kind of just scratching the surface. But at the end of the meeting, 3 of them, it was almost at the same time, it was almost comical. They said, but I get to keep this, right? You're not taking it away from me. So they saw that there was potential there and they didn't want to let it go. So we actually did roll it out to all of our staff.
So here are some tips on that you may or may not follow, depends on you how do you want to select your Tiger team if you choose to go that way. But you'll find that even within your Tiger team, there will be 1/3 of the users who use it a lot, 1/3 who sort of medium users, and 1/3 who are lighter users. No matter what they said at the beginning, but that seems to be a general sort of breakdown, right? And this is participation question 3 for the credit. What's holding you back? Oops, hold on 1 second. You can pretty much say whatever you want, right? Whatever's on your mind. It doesn't have to be any of those options. But
Looks like a lot of cost.
yeah, I think it cost is a lot, but once you get the feel for how much savings, it's almost like each license holder has a all-knowing intern working for them for free for $25-30 a month. That's really not that much of an investment, considering how much productivity gains you're going to experience. Really quick about the Copilot version confusion. There is a free Copilot in Windows that sort of comes with Windows. Every Windows user has it. It's a personal level Copilot that has no visibility into your corporate data. There is also free Copilot for business. If you already have a business license, Microsoft 365 business license, or enterprise, one of the E licenses, you will see Copilot in different places. It is somewhat useful, but it's lacking advanced reasoning across various content channels. Like, for example, if you have paid Copilot, it can reason across your chats, your emails, your one-to-one conversations, your calendar, your meetings, all the documents that you have access to, Copilot will have access to. It respects all the security boundaries. but it's essentially a tool that knows everything you have access to. It can reason across all of those. So it's just a more powerful version of Copilot. You can definitely try a free one. And if you like it, upgrading to paid would definitely make sense. Okay. Now we have only a couple of minutes left. How to get a license from here, right? If you have MSP, managed service provider, who handles those things, they can do that for you. If you don't, normally you purchase Copilot where you normally purchase Microsoft 365 licenses. It's in the Microsoft 365 Admin Center under billing, under purchase services, and then you can just search for Copilot, and that's what you're going to get. Microsoft 365 Copilot, and you get it. 501c3s get a small discount. I think the average price, regular price for Copilot is about 30, what they say here, $31.50 per license. If you're eligible for nonprofit pricing, it's going to be like $27. There's not much of a savings there. But there still is something. Okay. How do you install it? Oh yeah, the risk question about how AI will affect their jobs. It will affect everybody's jobs for sure. Sometimes in good ways, sometimes not so good ways. Right? How do you get it? I find it easy to get it from Microsoft Store. Everybody, if you own Windows already, you have Microsoft Store. You can just pull it up, search for Copilot, and you will find two different Copilots in there. As you can see, I have highlighted them in little red squares. This Microsoft Copilot is free, and you know that because the one that's not free has a little M365 sort of tag next to this colorful icon, right? So the one that says M365 and little black tag over here, that's the one that's paid. And once you install it and log into it, it will recognize, oh, this person has a license, and it will expose its full functionality to you. Okay. And where will you see it? For example, in Microsoft Teams, everywhere where you see this little icon, Copilot icon on the top, Copilot icon on the left. If you are in OneDrive, as you've seen, I've shared with you guys, as you mouse over your files, you will see Copilot become available to you with the Copilot-driven options for each file that you can summarize documents without having to read them, especially if you know, if you just need to know what the document is about and you know it's, I don't know, a 50-page document, it's a quick way to understand, like, do I need to have a deeper dive into this, or I just need to know what this is about, right? In the email, right? You will, once you pull up the Copilot, it will show up in your ribbon on the top. You'll get a little summary by Copilot on top of each email. It's very useful to summarizing threads. If you've ever been a member of a thread of like 15 different emails where people are just talking back and forth and trying to catch up, the summary of the thread is an incredibly useful feature. What you will also see in the paid Copilot, and I highlighted this here in the red square, is a little sort of a suitcase and a globe. It's a toggle that tells Copilot where to ground its reasoning. If you switch your toggle to little briefcase, it will then reason based on your content that's stored in Microsoft 365. If you want generic reasoning, not grounded in your particular content, you can flip the toggle to the little globe, and it will be just giving you answers based on widely available information. Okay, we have like 2 minutes left. This slide you can read on your own, essentially, the environmental impact. If you, for example, decide not to drink coffee once a day for a week or so, you pretty much offset your usage of Copilot for the rest of the year. And final tips and takeaways at the end of the presentation that will be shared with you, right? How to build a good prompt. There will be some resources at the end of the presentation. This is pretty much it. That's us. If you have questions for us, please reach out. We're always happy to share our experiences and our journeys with you guys.
Thank you very much.